any business owner, they need to have a mission behind what they're doing. It might always start out being about the money and kind of a good way to, make some money or get out of your 9 to 5 job or whatever it is. But you're going to have something that you're working towards that is bigger. So whether that is, helping orphanages over in Africa or whatever it may be, maybe it's just like, hey, I just want to make sure that I have enough passive income for my family because I never had that, growing up, or I never knew anything about like financial responsibility, or there needs to be some kind of a purpose that you're fighting or that you're working towards. And then whatever that is your person, you have to make sure that your kind of team understands that and kind of, relays that out and stuff like that. I was working with a team the other day, or it was a couple of weeks ago. And basically the owner of that business was sitting there and we're in the meeting and he has his team in there and he kind of talked about his vision and his purpose. He's like, well, I want to make sure that over the next 10 years, I want to donate $1 million to this charity. He already had it picked out here, but his team had no idea. And right there in that meeting, they're all like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we like that. Like they were right on board, but they never knew what he was working towards. And all of a sudden, they just all had buy-in too. They understood what he was talking about, what he was working towards, and they got excited about it. And all of a sudden, that team they're doing awesome now. Just over the last couple of weeks, they're cohesive. They're working together, and because they know that they're on mission and on purpose together. I've kind of been bad in that area of like knowing what my purpose is and knowing what my mission is in general. I've always been that person, whether it was growing up or even, through my business and stuff like that. I've always been an amazing number two. Like if that owner of the company or whatever, for example, our Simple Wholesaling is a perfect example. So Brett Snodgrass is the owner of the company. I came on team with him 4 years ago. I was really good at taking his mission and accomplishing it. Like his goal was to basically have a self-sustaining business within 10 years. That was his goal. Well, we did it in like 3. And I took his vision, I took his purpose, and I was able to accomplish that. So but coming up with my own is always tough. And working up with these business owners is kind of that same thing of just figuring out what do they really want to do, and how do you get there. And really what it comes down to is just sitting down and having some of those tough conversations, like what motivates you, what gives you energy, what can you focus on, what do you get excited about, those types of things, and having those questions. And like, for example, with me, like my purpose, I don't have that big purpose. I work with some teams. They're like, yeah, I want to give $1 million to this charity, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And mine's been kind of broad, but I've realized it really is just about helping people.
So every person, is your mission?
It really is just like whoever I come across, I just want to do whatever I can to help level them up.
A lot of people think that the wholesale market is oversaturated.
Yeah.
What are you doing differently to be able to acquire that aggressively?
Yeah, I think it definitely is. There's a lot of wholesalers in the market, and it's not just we're in Indianapolis and we see that and everything like that, but it's every market. Every market is hot right now across the nation, and really what it comes down to is being that trusted advisor for the sellers and for the buyers and for the lenders and everything like that. I think it's really what it comes into is that one of the things when we tell somebody that we're going to buy their house, we actually are going to buy their house. So even though we are a wholesaling company, we actually operate more as a wholetailing company where we are buying the house, then we're going to clean it out. We're going to, we can put it on the market or we can sell it to our buyers that way. But I think where wholesalers, it is a saturated market. There's a lot of wholesalers out there. But I think one of the reasons that we continue to do well and can buy properties from sellers and get properties under contract is because we're just being honest with what we're doing. We're not giving the lines of, oh, well, I'm going to get this under contract, but my partner's really going to be the one that buys it and all that stuff. We're literally saying, no, we can buy your house whenever you want us to. Like, if you want it, do you want it to be tomorrow? Do you want it to be next week? Do you want it to be a month from now? And then we can rent it back to you for the next 3 months. Like, what's your situation? Do you need to go anywhere? Do you have a place to go? What's the next step? And really, our goal is to really work with our sellers to be that trusted advisor for whatever that next step is in their life.
Gotcha.
If you're wholesaling, we all know that like you're dealing with people that are going through some type of turmoil. There's some type of problem that they need solved, and that's what it all comes down to. Is like, can you actually solve their problem, or are you just trying to get a property under contract to make some money off of it? It's not about the money for us. It's about changing lives and helping people. When we bring a person on, all of our acquisitions people are, they're straight commission. But those first 3 months, they don't have anything in the pipeline.
Right.
So we actually do we give them money, or we give them a base pay for the first 3 months that they're with us. Essentially, our training program takes about 90 days. I think it takes 90 days for that acquisitions person to be, or that buying specialist or solution specialist, whatever you want to call it, for that person to be up and running and be self-sufficient. I think it takes 90 days. And I think, talking to other people around the nation, that's about right. So they might be able to operate, might be able to kind of do their thing after 30 days, but they still need help. There's going to be a process or system they need help with. But they also need properties in the pipeline. So for that first 3 months, for that first 90 days, we're giving them a base pay. It's going to be usually somewhere in between like $3,000, $4,000 here in Indianapolis. That's what makes sense. But then really it's after that they have properties in the pipeline, and they're going to get paid commission after that. And that's how we operate it. So,
Gotcha.
and then after that 90 days, they're on commission. That's what they're working at. And that's what they're working towards. I love that, because they need to be motivated and stuff like that too. It's always funny too. One of my mentors, he always says, he loves his salespeople to be over leveraged a little bit too. So when they're like, "Hey, should I buy this, BMW or this new car?" He's like, "Yep, go ahead." Or, you're thinking about buying a house? Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Because you got to go come kill some more shit to maintain that.
Exactly. He wants them, in that hunter mentality as much as they can.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
How do you retain those acquisition specialists, especially those that are very good?
Yeah, I think that's always a tough thing in this industry, is that the people that are really good at acquisitions are also the people that can look at something and be like, "Oh, I can go do this on my own." But this all comes back to of having the right culture and having the right purpose and everything like that. If everybody is I'll be honest with you too. When I'm looking for a person for the acquisitions role, I'm not necessarily looking for that best sales guy. I want somebody that can relate to other people. I want somebody that's that friendly person that wants to work with somebody, that collaborator type person that's not necessarily just completely sales driven. Number one, because I know
like yourself.
What's that?
You're looking for somebody like yourself.
A little bit, yeah. Okay. I'm not. I don't consider myself a salesperson. But I'm really good at sales, because I'll sit down and have a conversation and figure out what really needs to happen or what the person really wants. Now, I'm not a great driver. I'm not that person that's going to be like, call every other day and be like, "Hey, how's it going? Are you thinking about something?" Like, that's not me, but I don't really want my team to be that way anyway. So it's really just calling and checking up and be like, "Hey, I know I talked to you last week. You were talking about going to your son's soccer game. Like, how'd that go?" And then I'll get into a little bit of, some of the sales stuff. But what it comes down to really is keeping those people on team and keeping them on, wanting them to still have that buy-in from them each and every day. It's figuring out what their goals are too, and helping them get to those goals. I mean, I have guys on my team right now that they don't need to work for me. They probably could go out and do it on their own, but they know that they have opportunity with us. You mentioned something about, how do you, there's some people that want to hang on to all their secrets and hang on. Like, I don't feel the need to do that. We as a team don't feel the need to do that. We'll share whatever we want with everybody on our team. We want them to know how things operate and how things work. So we'll go ahead and share that with them. But we also do that with other wholesalers as well. Like, I feel like there's plenty of properties here in Indianapolis, or plenty of properties across the nation that we just want to help people out. I know we've been more than blessed with what we've been able to do in this industry. So we want to give back as much as we can and help people out and help them understand whatever they can do. So it's not in our interest to hold stuff back. When we actually started sharing with other people and helping other wholesalers out, we essentially doubled our business, because now we had a lot of people that were bringing us properties, or, wholesalers, especially when they're starting off, they don't have a big buyers list. There's going to be every situation's different, and they're going to come across a tenant situation they can't handle, or a property they can't sell, or they lose a buyer at the last minute. Like, what do you do then? Like, those are the people that we want to work with, and those are the wholesalers we love, like, helping out a little bit. Number one, because we can get a property out of it, but also we can teach, we can help, and that's what we want to do.
What have you done to expand your buyers list?
Yeah, so networking as much as possible. So I love, going to different events, whether it's, SIREA or INREA or, any of the REIAs around here in town, but then also networking online, being able to get in the Facebook groups and talk to people. One of the things we also did is we started a podcast. The podcast you were on last week, the Indie Investor Pod. It's indie specific. It's Indianapolis real estate specific. So it's all about just helping educate people on Indianapolis real estate. We don't have a goal of it of like, we're not trying to make money off of it or anything like that. I think we have some opportunities here later on where people are actually asking us to like advertise on there and things, which is pretty cool. But we've ended up just having a big base of people that listen to that, and through that we've built our buyers list as well, which is awesome. That was a great side effect. That was never the purpose of it. Our purpose was really just to be able to help educate people. Like, we got kind of tired of seeing things on Facebook of like, oh, I got this deal from this wholesaler and they promised me this, and like, don't listen to wholesale. Don't even listen to me. Like, do your own due diligence, like run your own comps, use us as a resource, but and just things like that. But even helping educate people on, different neighborhoods of what can happen here and what can happen there.
Gotcha.
But through that, we've done a great job of building our buyers list, and we've been doing it for a while too. We really are at an advantage of where people kind of know our name a little bit. Where honestly we have about 20 to 30 buyers sign up for our buyers list just organically throughout the week, whether they listen to us on the podcast, whether they see us on Facebook or anything like that. Honestly, for us, it's more about whittling our buyers list down. Like, where people always want to have this huge buyers list and be able to do that. Like, we're really like, hey, how can we eliminate people from our buyers list? Because we want to just work with the people that are buying properties in the moment, right then and there, that are trusted buyers is really what we're looking at and stuff.
What was, in your opinion, the number one thing that you guys did to allow you guys to scale quicker?
Yeah. So number one, having the right people on the team, I think, is the biggest thing. And then also too, just having the processes down and people knowing what to do and when to do it. So really your process, your procedure, and then the policy behind that. So your process is going to be what you're doing. The procedure is going to be how you're doing it. And then the policy is going to be like kind of when and who is doing it, that kind of thing. So when we are able to bring somebody new in, we have all that stuff in place. The onboarding is easy. The training's easy. And we make a ton of mistakes through it still, but at least it's easier through all that stuff. So kind of the perfect example with kind of scaling is, so I've hired 3 people this year. I didn't need to hire any of them. But I knew before that, I was kind of in my head, I'm always looking for talent. I'm always looking for that next person that kind of, I want to finding people that I want to work with and bring them on my team. As I'm looking for those people and looking for talent, I'm also always thinking about what other opportunities can we have on our team? What other positions could I hire for if I found the right person, or if I found somebody I liked, or that I come across that like perfect person for this position or whatever like that. So throughout this year, we scaled this year. We built our team this year by 3 people, basically because we found the right people. We found the people that we wanted to work with, that we fit right into our culture. But then also too, we knew what positions we could hire for if we found those right people. So that allowed us to scale this year.
So to make sure I understand though, did you create the position in your mind first, or did you run into a great individual first?
I created the position in my mind first.
Okay.
And then I found the person, like, oh, okay, we could bring somebody on here.
Gotcha.
Be the perfect person for that role and stuff. So
okay.
And then also one of the things that really helped us scale this year is, so last June I took over for Brett as CEO. So Brett stepped out of the business. He's just, he really just sits in that owner seat, and he's kind of like my one person board of advisors. Maybe works within the business. We works with our private money lenders and things like that. Maybe works in the business, 4 to 5 hours a month, maybe, is what he does. And then I took over CEO, and I really worked in the business for a year. I really focused on that, and that's what I want to do. Then all of a sudden, some other opportunities came up for me, where I can do some coaching, I can do some consulting and things like that, which attracted me. But before I could do that, I had to make sure I had people underneath me that could run the day-to-day business, that I can pop down here to 9 o'clock on a Tuesday and hang out with Eric, because I don't have to worry about, who's answering the calls, or does this deal get analyzed, or is this closing going to happen? Because underneath me, I basically have a director of sales and I have a director of operations. So Randy, director of sales, he handles all the offensive side of the business. Anna, my director of operations, handles the defensive side of the business. And basically I work with those two and can kind of relay any messages I need to those two, and then they take it and run with it.
So now you chimed into a great topic. Everybody says, man, I'm going to wait to buy real estate because the market is going to crash. What's your response to that?
that you're going to be waiting a long time. So I think it's the market might crash. It might when it does that, if it happens next week or it happens next year, then it happens next year. But I honestly think with most of the markets that I see right now is I can speak on Indianapolis, but even just speaking across the Midwest, the market might come down a little bit, but I honestly think that most of the values are going to hold true, especially in markets like Indianapolis. I think Indianapolis is really what are some of the reasons that people invest in Indianapolis in general is because it's so affordable. It's so crazy affordable compared to a lot of other markets. You can take a property out in California, sell it, and do a 1031 exchange, and buy 4 properties here in Indianapolis of where you were in California and stuff. And I'm not saying that Indianapolis is going to catch up to like the California market or anything like that, but it's still going to be affordable. And maybe there's like it seems like property values are higher than they ever have been, but I think they're just going to hold where they are right now because I feel like we've kind of caught up to where kind of the rest of the nation really sits and where the rest of the nation lies. But one of the things within that is just that's one of the reasons that people like the Midwest markets is because they are stable. You're not going to have a huge appreciation, but you're also not going to have a huge depreciation. So back really when simple wholesaling got started, it happened back in 2009 or 2008 and 2009 when we were in the middle of a crash and things were going crazy and stuff like that. But that's one of the best times. Like you can buy real estate and you can be successful in real estate and things like that. But I would just say within that of don't just wait for I'm not going to buy a rental property because the properties are or the prices are crazy right now. I'll wait till next year when like the price is still going to be the same next year. It's not going to come down or anything like that. Will fluctuate $10,000, $20,000. Will you maybe not see if you put out a listing and you might not get 20 offers and they're all over asking and stuff like that. You might not see that all the time and stuff. You might not see that next year, but I think the properties are going to hold. One of the things I am seeing right now, it's kind of crazy, is you always see these, you see all the posts and everything, all the realtors basically just putting stuff out there like, 2 days on the market, over asking offer and stuff like that. Like, that's awesome, but does it actually close? Does it actually close? Because what I'm seeing right now is everybody is so anxious to get a property. They're throwing out these offers, they're throwing out these conditions and all this stuff like that, but then some of them are not getting to the closing table. Some of them are, the inspections falling out, the appraisals falling out, or people they can't appraise for what the offers are out there. Somebody might have to bring an extra 30, 40 grand to the table. So that's kind of, if you are somebody that's out there looking for properties right now, or you're waiting for a crash, or you're waiting for everything to not be so hot, that's what I would look at on the market right now is like, what are the properties that have been on the market and then contract has fallen out? That's really where I think some of the opportunity is for people to kind of capitalize on some of the properties that they might not, if they don't want to get into a rat race right away or anything.
What is your equation when looking at a deal to make sure that it works for simply wholesaling?
Yeah. So with that, right now we always want, so I'd say with the way that the market is right now, if we were looking at last year at this time, your typical investor buyer wants to buy something around 70%. I do think that's up a little bit. I think it's around like 75, 78, even up into 80% right now. With where you can buy a property kind of in the Midwest and still be successful with it is, so knowing that realistically what we want to do is we want to buy properties at right around that 60 to 70% and then be able to sell them to our investors at 70 to 80%. That's what sets us up. We're not a team that's looking to make 20 grand off of every deal or 30 grand off of every deal. We come across deals like that we do make some pretty decent money on, but realistically, as long as we can make 10 grand on a deal, that's what we're looking to do. So if that person, that property is worth $100,000, we want to pick it up somewhere around maybe like $65,000 and then basically sell it for maybe around $75,000. That's our typical deal of what we do each and every day. And that allows the seller to get what they need, allows us to get what we need, allows the buyer to get what they need. And then any of our private money lenders, or title companies or anybody that we're working with, it makes it easy for them as well. Educate yourself on what you can do. It's always, and you can do that in a couple different ways. Number one, make connections with anybody that is doing whatever, anybody that's doing whatever you want to be doing. Make connections with them. Try to have a conversation with them. Try to work with them in any way. Do any of that stuff. Just kind of figure out what they're doing and how they do it. to equate it to you. Don't be that guy that just goes up and like, hey, Eric, can you teach me how to do this? Or don't be that guy, but come up there, Eric, do you need help with anything? Like, can I shadow you for a day? Can I help you with anything? Is there, I'll work for free. Do you need some more properties? Can I, go drive for dollars for you? And you can teach me the process if I find you some deals. Doing that kind of stuff is working with people that are doing what you want to be doing, is one way to educate yourself. The other way is just, honestly, just read as much as you can. You can also, watch things and listen to things, whether it's podcasts or YouTube videos. Those are great as well. But honestly, I think just digging into books and reading like as much as you can on the topics and realizing what the people saying comes back to the same thing. Who is doing what you want to be doing? Well, I'm going to learn from them and educate myself with them. And then also just jumping into it and learning from mistakes as well. Where you're gonna make mistakes. Don't wait on that perfect deal. Don't wait on that the cookie cutter type situation or anything like that. They might happen throughout the time, but out of the 300 deals that we're gonna do this year, how many of them are cookie cutter deals? I'd say maybe like 40 of them, 40 out of the 300 or something. So really, just I think it comes down to is if you are looking to get into it, just educate yourself in any way. Go to meetups and go to RIAs and go to things like that and just network and connect with people as much as possible. I think one of the biggest things now where people get held up a little bit, especially because a lot of people are doing everything virtually now. I would say whatever market you're working in, make sure you go visit that market, drive around that market, understand that market. So I'm not saying anything that you can't do things virtually, but if I want to start, wholesaling up in Ontario, Canada or something like that, I'm going to go visit that market. I'm going to try to understand that market as much as possible before I actually start doing deals there. So I can, I can talk to sellers, I can rate sellers, but also I can, network with buyers and understand who I'm working with and things like that. So.